Hi everyone, this is Dee Dee from Design Decor, and today I'm going to talk to you about paint bleed through. What is it and how to deal with it? This is one of the most frustrating things you can encounter when you're painting a piece of furniture. So I started on this Hope chest, or this blanket chest, last week, and I painted it in Maison Blanc in the vintage Hurricane. Paint color was Hurricane. And once I painted it, I sprayed it on, and after I painted it, I sealed it with their matte varnish. And what happened after sealing was a little bit of bleed through came through as I sealed it. This happens a lot. You're painting a piece of furniture, you never see the paint, you never see the bleed through until you seal it with a water-based sealer. Typically bleed throughs happen right away when you're painting. Sometimes they happen when you're sealing. And so let me show you this piece and how the bleed through started to come through. And I also want to talk to you about what I'm going to do to fix this bleed through and what you can do to kind of prevent it on certain pieces. So let me take my phone off this holder here. And I apologize, I've got the road noise in the background, but I haven't opened the garage door. So let me flip my camera. And here is my piece up close. And you can kind of see in the crack and these spots of the bleed through that happened after I sealed it with the matte varnish. And let me show you here. I've got some here on the edge. And right here, there's a hardware piece that was here. And that really probably is the strongest piece of bleed through that I have. And then I have one here on the edge, a little bit here and here, and then also on this side I have a little bit of streaking on it. Overall, the bleed through on this piece was not bad, and this obviously typically happens. Let me put the phone back up here. The bleed through typically happens when you're using lighter colors. And there are certain types of woods, so cherries and mahoganies tend to have a lot of bleed through. So typically when I am doing a piece of furniture that has cherry or mahogany, I will go ahead and put a primer on it before I even begin to paint, because you just know those types of woods tends to have bleed through. And in the old days with antique furniture, the type of oils that they used in their staining, very oil, the tannins in it, they keep rising to the top. So that's what bleed through is. It's after you paint something with a water-based paint, the bleed through comes through because it's all the oil in the furniture, bleeds through to the top, and that's what we call paint bleed through. So typically when you have a cherry and mahogany, I go ahead and I spray a sealer on before I even begin to paint. Now on this piece, it's already been painted and sealed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this Zinsser. It's a primer, and it comes in a spray can. So what I'm going to do on those spots that I have bleed through, I'm going to spray a primer over those spots to seal them in. And then I'll go ahead and refinish those spots, and I'll go ahead and paint the side again. And then what I will do to help, because it pulls out when you have a water-based sealer, and that's exactly what happened to me, is the bleed through did not happen until I sprayed the water-based sealer on. So first step, I'm going to spray this on in the spots that had the bleed through. I'm going to apply another coat of paint over the piece, and then instead of putting a water-based sealer on it, I'm going to use an oil-based wax to seal it. The wax, it's oil and oil, so the oil in the wax kind of keeps the bleed through from coming through the top. So that also helps with bleed through. And since this is just small spots, it's not the entire piece, I'm only going to treat the spots that had the bleed through. So let me show you. This is the water-based primer that Zinsser makes. This I will use when I know I have a cherry or a mahogany paint or piece. Then I'll just go ahead and run this through my paint sprayer. It's water-based, and the cleanup is so much easier. Zinsser does make this bin primer. This is a shellac type primer. This works really great on a lot of pieces. This one I will hand put on because I don't like to run oil-based paints through my sprayer just because the cleanup is more difficult, and I don't really like to use the paint thinners and the cleanups and stuff like that. And then of course they have this one as well, which is the cover primer. And so those are the 3 types of primers that I will use. And like I said, they all come in this spray version, so you don't have to run it through, if you don't want to hand brush it on, you don't have to run it through your sprayer, you can use this. And this is what I'm using for my fix on this piece of furniture. So I will spray this on and fix everything up, and then when I go back to seal it, I'm going to use a wax because the oil and water don't mix, and that's why the oil keeps coming through when you put a water-based paint or a water-based sealer on top of it. And the wax sealer helps hold the bleed through from coming through. The other option that you can do on this, since my bleed through is very light on this, my plan on this was to go ahead and glaze this piece of furniture with a brown, and so it would blend in, and most people probably would not see that it has bleed through. So that would be an option. The other option is if you have another, if you know the piece is going to have a lot of bleed through, paint it in a dark color. A lot of dark colors, obviously you can't see the bleed through when it comes through because the paint is dark. Typically, obviously, the bleed throughs come through when you have a light color paint. So hopefully this answers a few of your questions of what to do when you have bleed through or how to prevent it from the beginning. Even though all the chalk paints out there say it's a no prep paint, you still have to prep for bleed through and any type of mishaps that happen along the way because of old furniture. So hopefully this helps. If you have any other questions, put them in the comments and I'll go back and I'll answer all your questions pertaining to bleed through. You guys have a great day.